hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to unmute myself, so I'm totally pro here, but I hope you're having a great night. This is the Paranormal Portal, Bedtime Stories from Beyond. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I'm absolutely thrilled you're here with me as we go through these Paranormal Portal bedtime stories. Tonight is a very special one, and we'll get to that in just a minute, but I hope you're all ready because it's time for bed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bedtime Stories from Beyond. We are going to do something kind of different tonight for the bedtime stories. Usually I just read you some encounter stories and we discuss it, and it's great, and you know, we'll continue to do that. However, I just thought it would be really cool to take one of these episodes and kind of compile a series of very strange but amazing events that have transpired around my family and I, and I thought this would be a great place and a great time to do it. So I hope you guys are ready for this. But joining me is, of course, someone very near and dear to my heart. Probably one of the most special people in my life. But I'm joined tonight by my wonderful mother. How you doing, Ma?
Really well, honey. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for staying up late with me. I know it's a little later where you are. It's probably past your bedtime, but these are the bedtime stories, so it kind of fits, right?
It does.
Oh, good. And so, ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to get into tonight is and Mom, well, I'll get to this in just a second, but what we're going to cover tonight is the encounters we have had with my father. We believe it's my father. Of course, we don't have any definitive proof, but the events all seem to line up and be pretty conclusive to us that something, or at least to me, but I believe us, but it seems pretty conclusive that the spirit of my father's is still hanging around, and not like he's stuck, not like in a negative way, like he's stopping in and checking in and making sure we know he's there. And I think it's really a beautiful chain of events, and I'm really excited for that. But people are saying you're cool, Mom. So,
well, I think they're cool too.
Well, yeah, because they're listening to your son, of course, right?
Right.
Well, anyway, so tonight we're going to cover that. Now, Mom, when exactly did Dad pass?
Dad died on April 14th of 2018.
So we're coming up to the anniversary of his passing then, yeah.
We are.
Yeah, and you know, and ladies and gentlemen, my father was ill for a long time. Essentially, it was actually a process that occurred over a period of years. You know, and it was really tough for him because my dad was a really stoic, strong person. He really prided himself on his health. on his ability to heal, on his ability to keep going and working. And this man worked tirelessly through the course of his life. Now, he was noticing a few years back that he was feeling like he was getting winded really early and really easily, and this was really tough for him. So he went to the doctor, and they ran a whole series and plethora of different tests and stuff, because he was very meticulous about his health. And if anything was wrong, he wouldn't run to the doctor for things like a stuffy nose. But he was really concerned about this and really pursued it. Now, my dad is a cancer survivor as well. He survived, what kind of cancer was it again, Mom?
Prostate.
Prostate. I was going to say pancreatic, and I'm like, no, but it's a P word. All right, prostate cancer. Yeah, so, yeah, this is the way I work, Mom. Aren't you impressed with your son?
I am.
All right, good. Well, so he had prostate cancer and survived that. And so he was diagnosed eventually with hardening of the lungs. And this
pulmonary fibrosis.
Pulmonary fibrosis. Okay, which is hardening of the lungs, Mom? Is that the same thing?
It is, yes. Well, the lungs lose their elasticity.
Okay.
Yep.
And so is it the gas exchange just can't happen because of that elasticity, or what is it exactly?
In the lungs, there are little fingers called alveoli. Mm-hmm. And with pulmonary fibrosis, the alveoli aren't standing up straight. They start curling over, and then they can't take the oxygen in.
Okay. Yeah. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as I said before, my dad was just a worker. I mean, that's what he did. He worked basically from sun up till sundown. And, he really threw himself into everything. And he took a lot of pride into keeping up with everybody, and it was really tough.
It was. Hello?
I'm here.
Okay. Take a deep breath.
Sorry.
It's okay. Emotion isn't a bad thing, honey.
Right. But he took a lot of pride in that. He would go. Yeah.
Well, he was 78 when he died, and up until the last year of his life, he cut hair, every Saturday and did many other things also.
Yeah, he was really quite an achiever, and he would work 2 or 3 jobs, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, he was just that kind of guy, and putting people half his age to shame, including me. So, sorry about that. It's just, sometimes these emotions come up.
Well, honey, I think a lot of it comes up because you weren't here with him when he passed.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big regret for you.
Yeah.
And for the rest of us as well.
So he passed away April what again?
14th.
April 14th. And so, it was a tough journey for him. He was a very proud man, and it wasn't what he wanted. And I visited him a few times, and he didn't seem like he was overly worried about it or anything. It was just like he said that he wasn't happy. And he wasn't. He was not a person to sit in a chair. So, his passing was, of course, probably the most gentle thing that could have happened. But, and time went on, and we all got through it. We all had a memorial for him, and it was really wonderful. But there wasn't really anything going on for quite a while. And then I had the dream, and I had a dream. And I think I told you about it, Mom. Wasn't that like last summer?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. You did.
And what had happened, ladies and gentlemen, is I had this dream of my dad, and it was a very beautiful healing moment. And, we embraced, and it was really cool. It was like, I got a chance, and it smelled like him. It felt like him. It sounded like him. It was him. Excuse me. So, it was really a really wonderful thing. And I think it was really a visit. So when we cover those things on the show, I believe in them. I believe that these people do, these people that we love and are such important parts of our lives do come back, and they do, make visits. And sometimes the dreams are the easiest way to get through. And so a lot of time went by. The dream was fantastic, and of course I shared it with Mom, and told her what he said, and it was really wonderful. And then excuse me, I'm a little froggy now. So now time went on, and we got to January 4th of this year. Yeah.
Yep. This year.
Sorry. And I'm sitting here at my studio desk doing things for the show, and doing any number of things that I would do every day here. And my phone rings, and it's my mom's cell phone. And I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. Mom doesn't usually call me at this time, but I guess it wasn't terribly unusual, but it seemed a little early. Like, you usually don't call till the afternoon, and this was in the morning. And so I answered the call, and nobody was there. It was like I thought, oh, Mom must have pocket dialed me somehow or something. And so I was listening. I was listening to what was going on. I could hear something going on in the room there, and then I heard a sound like this in the distance. It was like, and then I'd hear some words, some syllables, some sounds, and then I'd hear more of this commotion in the background. I'm like, what's going on? So I'm listening. I probably listened for about a period of about 5 minutes. I don't know, maybe not that long. It seemed like a long time though, because I kept going, hey, mom, what's going on? Thinking she had just pocket dialed me. And so I finally eventually hung up. And then probably about 15 minutes later, my phone rings, and it's Mom again. And I answer, and she says, what did you want? Because she saw that I had called back afterwards. I hung up and tried to call back, and didn't answer. I forgot to include that in my first part. But so she called me and said, what did you want? And I said, what did I want? You called me. And she goes, what? And I said, yeah, it was a call on my phone. I answered it. Nobody's there. I said, I'm not going to name him because I don't know if he wants to be named, but I said, is my older brother there? And she said, no. She said, and I just got up from down in the shower. So I said, well, where's your phone? She said, it's been up here on the dining room table. So her phone called me, and nobody was there. She's home alone. Am I recounting this correct, Mom?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so nobody was there, but I could hear this commotion, and this male voice every periodically, and then a clearing of the throat or a soft coughing noise. And I didn't know. I was just like, wow, that's really strange. And she said, yeah, it couldn't have been me because I was downstairs in the shower. I just got up now and called you. So I thought, wow, that's really strange. And that's about the time that you started telling me about the issues with the television, right?
It is.
Okay. So go ahead and share what you shared with me.
Well, all of a sudden, at random times, the TV would come on the porch, the TV that Dad watched. And it would come on not to the same thing and not at the same time during the day. First, I thought maybe there was an alarm on it, but it wasn't at the same time. I mean, it'd come on at 10 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon, or one time it was 6:30 at night, and Jeff was here, and he was standing by the doors that go out onto the porch where Dad always was. And I was in the kitchen, and I looked out on the porch, and I said, Jeff, what did you turn that on for? And he turned and he looked, and he said, Mom, I haven't been past this point. He said, I haven't been out there. He said, I didn't turn it on. Well, it turned on a couple times before that, and once it came on to Netflix movie listings, and one time it came on to just a regular television program. And this is what's insane, because Jerry could not run that television. I mean, he was absolutely ignorant of the technology.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be sitting watching my TV, and when he was out there, he'd yell, "Susie, come here, help." And it's run out there and figure out what he needed on his TV.
Uh-huh.
But then on January 5th, I was in the living room, and all of a sudden I heard the TV on the porch.
Hold on a sec. Let me get back to this.
Yep.
Because so then on that Friday night episode, I went into the discussion about, hey, this is really strange. It happened. I'm wondering, it sounds like it might possibly be my father, my dad visiting and stuff. And I thought that was extraordinary. And so I shared the events up to that point, including Mom telling me about the televisions turning on and just at weird times and not on a schedule and et cetera, et cetera. And, that was the lead into the episode on that Friday night, which was January 4th. Now, on January 5th, that morning, Mom calls. Now go ahead and tell me.
Well, I called and I said, "Brent, the TV came on again." And then I walked out with my phone out onto the porch, and I said, "Brent, you're not going to believe what's on the TV." And he said, "What?" And I said, "You are on the TV." And I put the phone out and let him listen to what he was saying on the TV. And he said, "Well, that was my podcast from last night." And so then I started recording it.
Mm-hmm.
And, and this is what's so incredibly amazing is Jerry would never have known how to pull up that on his television. And quite frankly, I wouldn't know how to pull it up either.
Mm-hmm.
But there it was.
And the timing of it was really interesting, too, because it was right at that point where I was talking about
him. Yep.
And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to share with you the recording my mom took of that event. And I just think it's incredible. It still stuns me even right now as I think of it, because it's like, for this to happen, somebody would have had to turn on the TV, turn it onto the internet, click the buttons on the remote or whatever to get it to the internet. They would have had to, there might be a YouTube button on your remote. I don't know if there is or not, which would make that easier.
Think so.
But you've never looked at my program on that television on the internet before.
No.
And so
Never.
It's not like it would have been set up prior to this on that television. And so not only did it pull up the Paranormal Portal channel on YouTube, but it pulled up that very episode and played it. Now, that's a series of several steps that would have happened, that would have had to have happened for that to be playing my episode discussing from the night before, discussing the events that we believe my dad might be visiting us. And so if you're familiar with smart TVs, it defies imagination that this just did this by itself. It turned on, was queued up to YouTube, to my channel, playing the very episode where I'm discussing the things that we believe he was doing. So this is just after Mom and I finished talking, and then she recorded it, and this is what she recorded. Close, tight. Hold on, let me get to this, and I'm going to put it up on screen. I'm going to have to, and Mom, you might hear nothing. I don't know if the sound is going to work for you or not, but here it is. So,
thank you.
Okay. Relationship, not terrible, but that's just the person he was. But in the dream that I had about a couple months or 6 months after he passed, I was in the house, and he was standing in the living room, or in the living room area, yeah. And I was just like, "Dad," and it was so real. It was so lucid and real. And he put his arms out like he wanted to hug, and it was just this amazing cathartic moment. And I hugged him, and I said, "We've missed you so much." And he hugged me back, which was just such a healing moment for me, because I wasn't there when he passed, and it was tough. And so to have that dream of him in his house, and then to hear that he's still hanging out there, maybe there's something to it. But something seems to be going on, ladies and gentlemen. And I think that there is a lot of things changing right now, and I think that people are experiencing more than ever before. But again, is it things changing, or are we changing in our vibration, in our awareness, or whatever? So just really cool events. But it was really neat. So I may have heard my dad on my mom's phone coughing because he died of hardening of the lungs. So is that possible? I don't know. I'm putting it out there to you. And again, I'm running the Ghost app here on the laptop. And full disclosure, I'm not convinced that these things work. But it is interesting how for months and months it wasn't doing anything. In the last couple of weeks, it's just been really, really, things have been happening. So maybe there is something to these things. I don't know. But tonight's show. So there it is. And that was the events leading up to that point. Now, Mom, has anything else been going on?
Something and things, in the part of the house where I'm not, like somebody's knocking on the wall or, or whatever. But basically, it's just mostly been the television, and it just amazes me.
Yeah, it amazes me too. But at the same time, I think it's really really a wonderful thing. I don't get the feeling that he's at all in a bad place. I don't get that feeling at all. I don't get the feeling that he's stuck. I just as with the dream visitations and stuff, I've had a couple of dreams with him in it, and you were there as well. And the second one, and I talked to you about that, and I thought for sure, it was so real, I thought for sure I was going to wake up and call you and you could remember it too. It was that real. Even the dialogue was that real, and including, the next oldest brother was there with us as well. And, now you shared that video with the brothers.
I did.
Other than me. Now, are they enthusiastic about the paranormal at all?
Well, I don't think so, but they were certainly enthusiastic about this.
Right. Yeah, and that's the part that I think is amazing. Go ahead.
Yeah, and they said, "Gal, Dad couldn't even master the remote when he was here, and now he's a wizard at it." So.
So they were believers in what they were seeing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and ladies and gentlemen, my brothers are not. They respect the fact that I do this show, but they're not enthusiastic about this kind of stuff at all. So the fact that they're accepting that this is some very real phenomena to me is incredibly strong, and in fact that might be the most convincing thing for me of it all, is that they can look at that and go, well, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So.
Well, John has had a dream about Dad.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And that was really cool too.
Yeah, he and Dad were doing a concrete job at John's house.
Mm-hmm.
And in John's dream, Dad was telling him, well, now tomorrow before we pour, we have to do this, this, and this, and this. And John said, okay. And then in John's dream, he said, wait a minute, Dad. We can't pour tomorrow. And Jerry said, why not? And John said, because you're dead. Mm. And Jerry said, I am not. I'm alive in your heart where I'll be forever.
Wow.
And Jerry wasn't a person to talk that way.
Yeah, he wasn't. Well, once in a great while, he would pull out something beautiful.
A gem, yeah.
And I don't know
where
it came
real
from.
Often.
Because he was like Mr. Blue Collar. I mean, that was Dad. He was just a blue collar kind of guy, hard worker, and he loved to drink his beer at the end of the day and sit on the picnic table and in the sunset. I mean, but he wasn't like a philosopher or a philosophical kind of person. But once in a great while, he would just come from deep left field with something so profound it would just make me open my mouth. Like,
Exactly.
who are you and what have you done with my
And
dad?
not be able to respond. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm just really really pleased that John had that experience as well. I mean, that's amazing. Wow.
I think John was very pleased too.
Yeah, that's really phenomenal.
It it, it was. I think for him it was very healing.
I think for all of us, it's been really
Yeah,
healing. Um,
it has, and it hasn't. I'm not frightened.
mhm.
I don't have any fear that he's here. I don't feel malevolence or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So
What an amazing experience, though, huh?
yeah, it really is. I mean, and most people, you'd tell them about it, and they'd say, "Yeah, sure," really.
Not my people. We people here, we have open minds for that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm very happy that you do because it's the absolute honest truth. I mean, this all happened, and nobody staged it, nobody set it up. It just occurred.
Right. And
So
the other part of it is that it just I just think it's really comforting because I mean we're all human beings and we all think, what if after this there's really nothing, like some people believe. But then to have an event like this happen, it's just like, oh hell no, there's something more. There's a lot more.
yep.
So I think that that's very powerful as well.
Well, Brent, you've had visits from a lot of people that have gone.
Yeah, and oddly enough, it seems to mostly happen in dreams, which is funny.
Yep.
But the good part about that is that I don't have a lot of trouble distinguishing from whether it's a dream or not because honestly, I really don't remember my dreams for 90% of the time. But these visitations have been so profoundly lucid and
Yep.
real that I can't question it. So
Yep. Well, you've had a lot of experiences. You know, when Bud died,
oh, that's right. Yeah, I'd almost forgotten
and
about that one.
yeah, and and him wrapping you in warmth in the middle of January out in the front yard. You
That's
know,
right. Yeah, I don't know if I ever shared that story. That's a great story as well. Ladies and gentlemen,
it is.
what my mom's referring to is we had a neighbor who was very dear to me. His name, well, I mean, he was known as Bud, and he was just the nicest, gentlest guy. And he's kind of the reason that I close every show saying, "Be good, be kind, be nice, take care of each other, help each other out," because he would always say, and I don't think he coined the phrase. But he would always say, if you ever have to make a choice between being right or being kind, choose kind.
Exactly.
And that always stuck with me. And he was just such a neat person. He was like a father figure to me as well. Now, when he passed, he passed from Parkinson's. Is that right, Mom?
Yes.
Yeah, and he was a cancer survivor as well. So,
Yeah.
you know, but I was really devastated, and I went outside and stood was it in February that he passed, Mom?
January.
January. So it's January in
Yep.
Minnesota on the lakefront. It wasn't like freezing, like terribly below zero cold, but it was cold. I went out there in my jeans and t-shirt, and I stood on the lakefront, and I just started to cry. It was just this wellspring of emotion, and it's just it's just the release, I guess, for the most part. But as soon as I started to mourn and think about him, suddenly this warm wind circled me, and I was out there for like 20 minutes in this nearly zero temperature with the wind blowing on me, and I was absolutely comfortable in it, and I just knew it was him. He was there. He was wrapping himself around me, and everything that I had to say, as soon as I was saying it, it was answered in my head. It was just instantly. It was just like, but we miss you, and it was, and then this comforting feeling, and every question, everything that I had to answer, it was just on a telepathic level, but it was just this connection that I couldn't believe, and it stayed circling me until I finally decided that I needed to go inside because it was pretty late, and I was feeling tired as well and worn out from all that emotional release. But it kept me absolutely comfortable out there. I didn't feel one bit of cold. So that was a great experience as well. Thanks for reminding me.
And then you had the dream.
Oh, So I had a dream about this gentleman too, and we were in his. They had a trailer house near us, and it was basically a cabin for them down on the lakefront area, and he was kind of going through stuff, and I can't remember all of it anymore, but I
Oh,
know.
I can.
Oh, please share it.
You were here in my house, and Bud was here, and everybody was here. And Bud asked you if you wanted to go for a walk.
Uh-huh.
And he said he wanted to go over to the cabin and check on something.
Right.
And you went to the cabin. Can you pick it up from there?
Well, I went to the cabin, and we were going through stuff, and
He was going through his closet.
right. He was going through his closet, and he pulls up this hanger that has, and he says, "Do you want half of bathrobe?" And he holds it up, and I said, "Half a bathrobe? That's a belt." It was just funny. It was just such a neat moment, and it was so
and
like
then
him.
He laughed.
Yeah.
And he was gone.
Yeah, and then I was alone, but it was just a really neat moment. So, yeah, and so, ladies and gentlemen, I believe completely that we are oftentimes visited. Maybe we don't always recall it, but I think it happens. Even if you don't recall those dreams, I'm sure they're happening, and maybe that's why we heal, is because they do visit us, and they do, let us know that they're okay. So, just very, very cool, and I hope you guys don't mind indulging me this one episode to put this out there, because I often ask you guys for your experiences, for what you've seen, what you've been through, what you've felt, what you've experienced, and this is my moment to share with you what I've experienced. These are the things that I've been through, and there are so many more, but quite honestly, I can't remember a lot of them anymore because there's been so many. And in fact, I didn't remember that dream of Bud until just now when you brought it up. It's like, oh yeah, that happened. Huh.
That one will never leave me either.
Well, he was a dear friend to all of us for sure. So that was very powerful. Oh, thank you, Julia. Julie says we enjoy your stories. Oh, well, I appreciate that. But that's that encounter, and I hope, Mom, if anything else comes up or happens, you'll come on again and share what new experiences are going on.
I certainly would be happy to.
All right, Mama Bear. Well, I love you.
Love you too, honey.
Okay, I know you got to get to bed, so thanks again for staying up late with us for a while, and sweet dreams.
Be good, be safe, be kind.
I will. Of course I will. All right, love you, Mom.
Good night. Love you too.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that was my mom. Again, I just wanted this whole experience to be in one place, recorded for posterity's sake. Much love to Mom. Thank you so much. That's very sweet. Aw, thank you, Gemini. But I'll pull up some stories now as well. The phone lines are open if you have anything you'd like to share or anything you'd like to comment on what we've shared so far tonight. Again, the phone lines are open, so feel free to call. Wow, I didn't expect the emotions so much, but wow, whew, that was I suppose cleansing, right? That's my life. I'm sharing it with you guys. Let me get some stories up here. Sorry. I didn't know how long that would take exactly. I mean, it's been only about a half hour. Yeah, 34 minutes. So now my eyes are even more blurry. Darn tears. All right, let me pull up a few of these and we'll read some and see where we're at with the time after that. But thank you guys, I appreciate it. And I do have the ghost app running, but nothing came through, so which is fine. I don't need to be experiencing stuff all the time. All right, this first story tonight is coming out of Texas. So when I was 12, my great-grandmother became very ill with colon cancer. Wow. I just pulled this up, and there's that cancer word again. She went through treatment in the beginning, but it was not working, and she was at the age where she felt she was ready to die. Her husband had been dead 15 years, so when she got sick, her 8 kids and their spouses took turns looking after her. One night, my great-grandmother took a turn for the worst, so my grandmother called her siblings together to help make her mother-in-law as comfortable as possible. She continued to hold on throughout half the night, and then she asked to be alone. Her kids left the room and went to their separate rooms, and at around 11 p.m., my grandmother heard her father's voice coming from my great-grandmother's room. He said as clear as day, "It's time to go now, Clarice." My grandmother rushed to the room and realized that her siblings were also there. They had all heard their father's voice, and my great-grandmother was dead. To this day, my grandmother will swear that this happened. And why would every other person in that house hear the same thing if it had not been real? My family is a devout Church of Christ, and to know that there is a place that we are going when we die is just another reason to have faith in heaven and our Lord. That's a beautiful story. That is wonderful. Okay, the next one is coming out of Arizona, ladies and gentlemen. Arizona tonight. I had a question and I was hoping to get it answered. My boyfriend has a friend that he grew up with in school pretty much all of their lives. He had ended up with another of their mutual friends and began dating, and this friend of his recently moved out and they both broke up. I really didn't get into the why, but he always told my boyfriend that the house they were living in together was absolutely haunted. My boyfriend asked him, "Well, why do you say that?" And one of the many occurrences, he finally couldn't handle it. He explained to my boyfriend that the house they lived in together used to belong to her sister. She was murdered there, actually. Her husband shot her with a shotgun before turning the gun on himself, leaving their son with no parents, whom now lives with his grandmother. And aside from objects being moved and noises, phones constantly ringing, etc., he explained an instance where he had just had it. It began one night when his girlfriend went out with her mom for the evening, and he decided to stay home and head to bed early that night. And as he gets comfortable to set in, he turns out the light, and it's pitch black, pretty much, but the glow from the digital light is bright enough to see a silhouette. Actually, if you know what I'm speaking of, then that small red light that illuminates pretty good these digital alarm clocks. And as he was dozing off, he felt like a tug on the foot of the bed, more like someone sitting down. Now, his girlfriend had already been gone for about an hour at this point, so he figured it was her, and she came home, and he decided to play asleep and scare her as he waited, acting asleep. He could see her coming towards the side of the bed, which he was facing, right next to the clock, so he could tell it was her. Well, it was a woman. She stood there, and he jumped up and yelled, "Rah!" And while grabbing her legs, he felt her inner thigh, expecting her to scream, and all he heard was a gasp, like someone gasping for air, and then the shape turns around and walks calmly away towards the door. This in turn scared him, so he threw his pillow at her and shouted her name. "Damn it, Christine." So he jumped up and turned on the light to run out in the hallway, but there was no one there. He searched the whole house, even outside, but nothing. Either way, he knew that whatever it was could not have gotten away that fast from the bed to the door. He was so freaked out he couldn't even stop jittering. His girlfriend finally came home and was surprised at his behavior, but was not surprised to hear the story. But what gets me is that I am sure that whatever it was also surprised at how he unwittingly tried to scare it. I don't think it expected that as it gasps for air. Anyway, what I was wondering is, he asked, how in the hell could I have felt it? When I jumped up to scare who I thought was my girlfriend, can ghosts be touched like that? And there's many stories of people lashing out at ghosts and feeling like they connected with it with like a fist. Of course, we know that people can get scratched. We know that people can get hurt. We know that people can feel the depression on the bed, as was related in the story. So it seems like they can be that manifest if they want to be, or if they have the energy to be. But what a great story! That's pretty amazing. All right, let's get to the call that we have here, and this is area code 208. This is Julia.
Hello.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm good. I thought I'd call in today on a coincidental thing because you were speaking about your dad, and it happens that today is my dad's birthday.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's cool.
And so, well, you guys were talking about things that happened, and now, so the backstory, in case nobody knows, I'm technically an orphan. It sucks, but the story goes that my dad died when I was 8, and then a year later my mother died on Mother's Day. And then today was his birthday many years ago, and you were talking about having dreams and such.
Right.
Now, my mother and I were never that close. Unfortunately, she was an alcoholic and bad memories, and she was never really around.
Okay.
But the strange thing was that on prom, the night of my high school prom, the night before, she came and saw me in a dream. And for a lot of people, prom and their mother, that's the time that mothers hang out together and they dress up and they go shopping. And it's the mother bonding time.
Mm-hmm.
And because we were never that close, I always thought that was a little strange. But I remember seeing her, and she was, I don't remember exactly where she was. It kind of looked like she was in a rehab facility, but that part could have been my mind. But I talked to her, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? You okay? She kind of looked at me. She's like, I'm okay. I'm like, okay, that's good, And then I woke up, and I remember thinking that's really weird because we were never that close. Me and my dad were always the close ones together.
Mm-hmm.
But I put a thing up online. One of the local pubs is having a prom night for adults, and I thought about going to that because my actual prom was a nightmare. I ended up spending the whole night in the bathroom crying because my boyfriend at the time really sucked.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. That's why I want to go to this other one, because it's a new one, a redo,
Yeah, right.
But I just thought that was kind of interesting about the birthdays and the fathers and the mothers and the dreams. I decided to call in and share.
Oh, thank you so much. And I think I think you're right. I think you did have a moment there in that dream. Even though you and your mom weren't probably that close, as you said, but I do think that there's an exceptionally strong bond that will always exist between children and their parents, or their mother at least, because we spend 9 months inside of them, and we're part of that energy field, and we develop in that field. So I think that there's always a connection. Now that doesn't mean it's always going to be a beautiful connection, but it just definitely goes to show that there is a connection. Now she is not passed, right?
No, she passed away a year after my father.
Oh, okay.
So,
Wow.
and she actually died on Mother's Day, which again, was a strange coincidence,
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I do think that whether it be mother and mother or father and son, because I have Alice here, and she's technically my second child, but my first one that I've been a mother to.
Okay.
I gave a child up for adoption many years ago.
Okay.
And it's still open adoption, but the connection that me and Alice have is really something. I mean, I can't really explain it. I will be thinking of something, and she'll be like, "Okay, Mom, let's go," and I'm like, "I didn't say that, Alice. Get out of my head."
That's beautiful, though.
It's kind of annoying, but it's not. It's nice because there are also times where I'll be laying in bed at 2 a.m. thinking, and I'll be like, "Oh my God, Alice is gonna start crying," and half a millisecond later, I'll hear her start rearing up and crying in the middle of the night. So,
Wow.
I mean, it's definitely something else.
Absolutely. So, as a father, I can only imagine. Of course, I know I feel like I have a bond with all my children, but I still don't think it's nearly as strong as that motherly connection. That you, especially like you and Alice have.
Yeah, it's weird because I've had it with other people too. And my friend Bridget, I moved up here and she was in Utah,
mm-hmm.
and I've called her on several occasions saying, "Hey, why are you crying?" Or, I'll tell her, "Hey, I had a dream about you. I hope you're all right."
Mm-hmm.
And then actually, the last time that I did that, she found out some news. It's good news.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that coincidence again, and it's so funny because I try and tell people these things and they just kind of look at me like I'm crazy. And
Right.
It's like, okay, you don't have to believe me, but this is my experience, just like it's your experience or anybody's,
Well, I think you're probably, to be honest with you, and I've known you for a little bit, but I think you're probably dealing with some abilities of your own. And I imagine if you really started to develop them, you would be doing some really amazing things.
Well, and I wanted to talk to Deb or D, one
mm-hmm.
of the double Ds. No, not double D. D and D. I don't know if they're double Ds. Okay, keep it family friendly. Anyways, I want to talk to somebody about this and see if there's anything that I can do. It sounds so silly when I say it, but to help strengthen it, I don't know what I want to do. But
no, absolutely.
Yeah,
well, I
fine tune it.
I think, and I've had many discussions with Deb about this, and I've always asked her, what is the best way for someone to really get in touch with their abilities? And she said meditation. Meditation has been, really amazing for her, and it's helped her really tune into those abilities. So I think if you started there, at the very least, I think you would get some pretty amazing epiphanies.
Yeah, I'll have to try that. Well, I don't want to keep you too long, but I just want to call in and say hi and
say
I love you. And
I love you too.
I mean, I really do. I hug.
Well, thank you so much, and I love you too, and thank you so much for calling in and sharing your experience as well. That's really cool. It's funny how those serendipities happen, where we those common lines and things that just create these strong bonds. So thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, have a good night, Julia.
You too. Bye-bye.
Very cool. I love having this phone line. It's so awesome. There's no longer that point of separation between us. Now we can just connect if you guys call. It still requires a phone call, though, ladies and gentlemen. Just saying. But, yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so let's get to the next one here. This one's coming out of New Hampshire. Boy, that's one we don't see too often. All right. In the early 1950s, the city of Nashua, Nashua, New Hampshire, there was an incident at the Black Bridge, which was located on a stretch of railroad tracks not far from the Hudson Bridge, which is the next town over. My great-grandmother, who lived directly across from the tracks, was present when a train derailed and crashed into a nearby building. The bridge was partially torn to pieces, and many people died, and almost all who lived were scarred for life. My grandmother told my father, when he was very young, that some of the passengers crossed the field to her house. Being a kindly woman, she did not turn them away and help them. One man, according to great-granny, had the skin on his back missing. Oh, dear God, that would be so incredibly painful. But she said that he was in such tremendous shock that he didn't seem to be aware of it. Sadly, many children passed in the wreck, and many years later, me and my family lived on the street that runs down a long hill and it comes to a stop at the Black Bridge. Me and my friends named it that because it was as black as pitch. To this day, The laughter of young children can be heard as though they were playing under the bridge, but nobody is ever seen. Apparitions and the ghosts of suicides haunt the area as well. Go to the bottom of Lock Street and you'll find out for yourself. Wow. Yeah, it seems there, there's every community seems to have that one location, and maybe it's not every community, but it comes up so often that every town seems to have one place where something really went sideways, and now it's like a vortex of energy and seems to draw a lot of things to it. Okay, now this one will be our last story for tonight, and this is coming out of Texas. Hi, my name is Nikki, and what I'm about to tell you is real and happened recently. When my family just moved to Texas, me and my mom were sitting in the dining room talking, and all of a sudden, my mom turns around and looks at me. Of course, I asked her, what's wrong? And she said, someone touched my shoulder. Well, I looked around and I didn't see anything, so that's when I started wondering. And now we live in that house, and some strange things happen. For instance, my mom was going up and down the stairs doing her laundry, and then the third or fourth time she was going to the stairway, there were 3 of my dad's caps blocking the stairway. Every single night I hear, "Go to sleep, baby girl. Don't let the bed bugs bite." And it's very weird, but I feel special because I never knew him. Another night, my mom and dad were sleeping, and they woke up to someone banging on their bed. They looked up, and nobody was there. And every night I look out my door at 12:30 a.m., I see a thick black cloud of smoke. I just can't believe what is happening. If there is anybody, I mean anybody, please help me. I just want a little bit of help here. I just want to find out what he wants and why he hasn't crossed over. My mom thinks that my grandpa's dog is with him, but I don't think so. Hard to say, but again, this is an old story, so I hope that person did find the help they needed. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for indulging me, my personal account, and I hope that it meant something to you guys. Of course, it means a lot to me, and I do consider you guys like my family, so I felt it's important to share. And besides, I just wanted it in one place. As I said before, it's little pieces of it are over several episodes, but it was really fun to get my mom and have her recount her experiences with this whole dialogue that had happened. And thank you so much for being a part of the show. As always, you guys are amazing. Oh, you're welcome, Lady Death. And thank you, Haxer. Yeah, me too. Great. Thanks, Duke. I appreciate that, brother. You guys are amazing. Thanks so much. But I guess that's going to wrap up the show for tonight. So I love you guys. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day and smile as much as you can. So I'll be back tomorrow night with Dawn, and we'll be tearing up the Wednesday evening broadcast with all kinds of paranormal mayhem. So I hope you guys will be there as well. But have a wonderful night. This is Dana. I hope you bring your mom back on to another show like this one. You don't have to do that. And thanks for trusting us enough to share your stories with us. Thank you, Dana. That's very sweet. Oh, that's nice. That's really kind. And I thank you so much. I wouldn't share it if I didn't believe in you guys. I wouldn't. I realize now it's recorded for posterity on YouTube, and anybody can watch it, and many people will watch it. But the reason that I wanted this show to happen tonight was for you guys. I wanted to share that with you, those of you who come and watch every show and participate in the chats, and you feel like family. I mean, everybody's family, of course, but I just felt it was part of the connection, me sharing with you as well as you sharing with me. So. Again, love you guys, and I hope you all have wonderful, sweet dreams, and I will see you tomorrow night. So, and Don will be with me, so that's a show not to be missed. All right, guys, sweet dreams. Bye.